Um, I am a on-air host and producer with All Classical Radio, and I'm mainly a contributor to the arts blog. Um, I also do like some shifts. You may recognize me outside of this because I'm also executive director of 45th Parallel as well as Opera
Oh,
Theater Oregon. So I work in the chamber music scene in Portland, which was part of the reason I was so excited about this. So you two have never worked together or you have worked together before. Tell me about the process
no.
of meeting and what happened.
I don't think we've ever met. Have we
Well,
ever been in a room together?
we have not been in a room unless you count a Zoom room as a room. So that depends what that means to you.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were connected through Chamber Music Northwest,
Yeah.
actually. WindSync has played at Chamber Music Northwest in various capacities, out and about all around Portland, libraries, community centers, uh, residences, and beyond, and then on the stage as well for the last 3 or 4 years. So this was a cool way for us to dig even deeper and bridge some of those audiences.
Yeah. And we've been working with chamber music. I think this is our ninth collaboration with them.
Wow.
And we've worked, it started very sort of casual. They were doing a piece in our studio and asked if we would do a couple of things on it. And so we said, yeah, we have this piece that's done to Sibelius Valse Triste. Maybe somebody can play that on piano and violin. Then it went from that to full-on collaborations with different groups. And WindSync is the latest collaboration, this fruitful, fabulous relationship.
So what I'm hearing is this was a really organic process coming out of just a community sort of pull or community mashup due to space and time and
Yeah,
how those things unfolded.
yeah.
Have you ever worked with dancers before, Kara?
WinSync has worked with dancers kind of throughout its history. And actually, some of the very first performances that launched WinSync's career were theatrical. So WinSync worked not with professional dancers in a artistic capacity, but actually to get coaching so that WinSync would understand how to be on stage and use the space appropriately and perform as dancers and kind of fake theater professionals in the early days. But then after that, we collaborated with a dance company in Houston, which is our artistic hometown, called Vitaka, which itself actually had a little bit of an evolution. So we've worked with some of their children's division, basically, and then also some of their professional dancers, and also with high school level dancers, high schools at performing arts academies in Houston and Kentucky and beyond. BodyVox is definitely our biggest production so far, though. It's exciting.
I love that you sought the knowledge base of theater or dance, like just how to comport yourself on stage. And you made me think of shoegazing bands that play really, really loud, but just stand there and look at the floor. Like they could use a little bit of choreography or at least some coaching. But I think that's really interesting because I do think um, when an audience is watching music, they're watching you. They're not just listening unless they close their eyes because it's beautiful or whatever. But you have to realize you're a body that they're staring at. So you might
Yeah.
have a couple of things like turn left. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think that's actually that's a good point, Jamie.
Yeah.
That's really deep that you guys thought about
Yeah.
that.
Well, it sounds like actually, Jamie, the shoegazing bands are not so far off from what chamber groups can look like on stage.
Totally.
So,
Totally. That's my point, I think.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what can we expect to see with this collaboration and this show coming up?
They'll be on one side, we're on the other, and we're just gonna stand around
Oh, yeah, and look at some
and
shoes.
look at some. We're gonna have a stack of shoes, and we're gonna sell them throughout the. Um, what's interesting, and Kara, I've spoke with you a little bit about this through email, but I don't think they've really seen anything that we've choreographed. Um, and part of that is because we didn't have it done, and why send you little piecemeal stuff. But I think this week we'll be sending along some stuff because we're finally able to do it start to finish without stopping and
Cool.
and staring at our shoes and figuring out why it's not working. You know, the building process of something like this is very interesting. So Kara sent us a list of music that was in their wheelhouse that they have memorized and or that they're going to be doing because it's a brand new thing that they're bringing forward or something like that. So we had this whole list, and then what we do is we look at it and we try and we listen hard and we start playing in the studio, and then we try to figure out, well, what is this music saying to us? And the fact that it kind of comes from different eras, we started thinking about the idea of doing a show that where we focused on the visual art of different eras that the music was coming from. And so the first section, oddly, it's Philip Glass, who's very modern, but to us the music, the repetitive nature of the music and how it goes into another piece that we've pulled in from Evelyn Glennie and another one from Brian Eno that kind of it fades in. It's all about caveman, and the genesis for the title of the whole show was humans have been telling stories since cavemen were writing on the walls, which is an interesting sort of aphorism that was not attributed to anybody. And I tried to find out who said that. Well, Marshall McLuhan said it and someone else, but actually it's something that people have been saying all along because it's all along been true. So there's a version of it. So the show is called Drawing on the Walls because it's telling stories throughout a variety of eras, all centered on the music that WindSync is bringing forward and that we attach into those eras. So there's 4 distinctly different sections that we've done that musically and visually are completely different. And then WindSync is playing a couple of pieces on their own, like the stage goes kind of clean because what we've found is that if you have too much dance in an evening, even in a dance concert, it's just too much. So people need to breathe. That's why we make films and sometimes, anyway, that's kind of the genesis. And we've taken her music selections and sometimes we'll work on one section from one composer. Like the first part of Mellot's that we did was a duet. I choreographed Debbie waltzing on the moon. And then we did Philip Glass over here. And then we went back and what else did we do? We got Tenebrae, which is unbelievable piece of music that you're premiering it, right? Because you're getting an arrangement. Anyway, that's kind of the way we work is we piece it together. We make a big necklace and there's a bunch of holes in it and we fill it in as we go along. And finally you have a nice cohesive show.
Braiding the daisy chain.
Braiding the daisy chain. Yeah.
What's something that you've noticed is different about collaborating this way than maybe in other ways you would collaborate in the past?
Well, that's an interesting question because we haven't been in the room together, and it's the first time we've worked together. So, I guess the thing that I think most of is like faith that it will work because they're super excellent and supposedly, ostensibly, so are we, and we get along because we love their music and so it's kind of the faith that you're going to be able to be professionals and show up and make something that's the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. That's a thing that's beautiful about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that for us, it actually, we aren't really improvisers, right? We're classical musicians. And I think if we were asked to improvise a jazz chart, we would all shake and maybe drop the gig. But there is this improvisation to coming to dance because we inhabit the music in our bodies when we perform it, but to actually use your full body and to feel the rhythm of the piece so fully and physically, that might illuminate something different about the pacing or the way we perform the piece. And so it always requires us as musicians to be completely present and ready to adjust in the moment. It's basically an extension of what chamber music is, because chamber music is supposed to be something that feels spontaneous and feels like a conversation. So a collaboration with dance is then actually just taking that, even a step further. Something that's different, actually, Jamey, is that in the past, when we've worked with dancers, we sent them the music and then they said, okay, and just did what we told them to in terms of what the music program was. So it was so refreshing to actually have something collaborative despite the distance.
Yeah.
Actually, a little bit of a back and forth of understanding, first of all, what music is danceable, because that's something I think we just aren't thinking about that frequently. And then also, what does it mean in the context of a program that is visual and physical? Because when we think of a program, we might think of a certain flow of musical textures or dynamics or history or something like that. So it gives us a completely new way of organizing the music that we know or will be playing in the future.
And then I thought of the other thing, which is you're going to have 8 dancers grunting and jumping and landing on the ground and breathing and the whole time.
I guess that's a music of itself too.
Which is, yeah. I mean, mostly it's like you could hear a pin drop in between, the parts of a suite or whatever. Like everybody just is hushing. Our dancers are going to be going, like gasping. I'm kind of amazed because we're doing run-throughs of the whole piece. We won't just do a section. Like Apollo, we're doing 4 sections of it. And so we'll run a part of it and then we'll break and we'll talk about it and we'll work on it. Well, now what we're doing is we're running the whole thing, and I'm amazed that at the end of 4 sections or 3 sections, they're just gasping because they're not in shape to run it sequentially yet. And I'm like, oh yeah, this really isn't easy. Like they make it look so easy when it's all in pieces, but together they're working their butts off.
I mean, it sounds like it's going to be amazing. Like it's going to be a total menagerie of both what BodyVox and WindSync thinks is amazing and like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's the goal, I think, right? Yeah.
Of course, yeah. And don't worry, Apollo's an endurance challenge for our musicians too.
We can all gasp at each other.
We'll be gasping with you. That's part of the beauty of that particular piece, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate when you get to town and you have, how many rehearsals do you have before the show opens?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, so you have 3 rehearsals. Do you anticipate in your mind how it will go, and then it will go exactly like that?
Oh, no way. I think, Ashley and I are kind of proponents of it's not done till the curtain comes down, on opening night, really. And the rehearsals with everybody in the same room reveals a whole lot. Reveals about pacing and, we have a problem here. How do we solve that? And there's, in many cases, I've created these sort of like interstitial sound effect backgrounds that bridge one section to another or introduce a section, because we just need it to get into place and to set, like, where are we? Where is this piece taking place? So it might be the sound of a crowd of people playing in a fair or in a park somewhere, and you'll hear the sound of animals and water and stuff like that. Or sometimes it's environmental sounds, like a rumble, that it sounds kind of like there's an earthquake happening and it's coming, and or no, that's actually happening above us. And you play with, you don't just do music and dance. You play with color, light, sound, environment, to make a world that brings people so far in that they forget the one they're in. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, the idea that you're gonna leave where you are and enter where everyone else's brains are.
yeah, yeah, and you're all going to go there together, and along the way, you're not going to start thinking about that you didn't finish your taxes yet. You know, you're just gonna, it's gonna be so compelling you won't think about that. So, yeah, that's the goal. I think is like immersive entertainment.
Does that resonate with you?
I love that goal. Forgetting tax season, that sounds good to me. And yeah, and the idea of like environmental sounds and like all these extra things are amazing little in between things between the disciplines of dance and music. And I think that that's part of the beauty of doing a collaboration between music and dance is finding what exists between and what is shared between these two art forms because I think there's a lot to learn from dance for us musicians at least. Yeah.
That's a really good point. There's that idea that you're going to learn something from working with another artistic genre. What's something, Jamey, that you've learned through this process? And I'm going to ask you the same question if you want to think about it a little bit.
Well, a lot of things. What first came to my mind was the fact that when you rehearse to a piece of recorded music, it's the same every time you do it. You know, even when it's a live version of WindSync that we pulled from YouTube, it's still the same thing. And so the beauty of it is you have a kind of a vague idea, or not vague, it's pretty clear idea of what to expect. But then you get in there and things are completely different. The texture in the air is different. And I think the beauty of live music coming from instruments versus the speakers, and we have really good speakers, but you know, it's not the same. That being in the air, it literally makes your body move differently. You feel the molecules being disturbed in your body by sound waves, and it makes you move differently. And it's much more, I find it's much more emotional when music is live. It's happier when it's happy music. It's sadder when it's sad music. I'm prepared to go through a box of Kleenex during Tenebrae. It's so sad and so beautiful. It is exquisite. So that's one thing. And then, yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing. But learning, there's been a great thing that's happened in this process is there are certain times when we know that our dancers can do things that we cannot. They can do that. They're trained differently than we are. They have different strengths than Ashley and I do. And we will say to them something like, we have 8/8 here, although with WindSync it's seldom that straightforward. We have 3 6s, a 10, an 8, and 2 4s, and then I don't know why, but there's a 3. But anyway, we'll tell them, here's this chunk. We want you to, each one of you, make 4 counts, and there's 8 of them, and then make another 4, and we're going to accumulate this, and you're going to teach each other what you're doing, and you're going to essentially choreograph a piece that plays on all of your strengths. Because look, Ashley and I were not afraid to tell them exactly what to do. Do it like this. But when you tell people, and I think jazz is kind of like that. Kara, it's like, here's the head here, and then go, you know. And when you tell people to choreograph something that's for their bodies, you cannot believe what they come up with, and they're so invested in it. And I think it empowers them to bring that kind of energy to the rest of the show because they know that what they're doing right then and there is it's all them, you know. And it's that's a way to work. I think I've kind of worked that way a long time, but with this kind of group of dancers, it's really cool. It's really cool.
Kara, what about for you? What's something that you've learned or your fellow colleagues in WindSync have learned?
Well, something that struck me in what you said, Jamie, was about the sensory experience being different. And I think in general, that's the biggest takeaway. And WinSync has a small scale version of this where, because we do perform some chamber music repertoire from memory, we learn that independently and at a distance. We actually don't live in the same cities. And so we're trying to prepare at home. And if we want to memorize something, we think we know it forwards and backwards, and we think we know the score, right? And then we come to rehearsal, and the sensory environment is completely different. And the way our ear hears the piece is completely different. And we're training ourselves to follow certain lines that we've missed, but there are others that catch our ear that we weren't expecting we would play against, and these sorts of things. Working with dance is that to the extreme, right? It's all this new sensory information, and maybe being inspired by a gesture that we see with our eyes, which we typically don't have the luxury of, and coming up with kind of a new interpretation of the piece on the spot, basically. So for me, that's one of the biggest general lessons, I would say. And it is funny about the eights and sixes and tens. At having taken dance classes as a kid, very enthusiastically, but only ever done doing 8 count phrases. I know that the way that dance is counted is different from how music is counted, and honestly, like the difference in measurement and like the different approach to time itself is a really inspiring, I think, sort of concept for musicians to consider. We always think about pulse and meter and everything's da, 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 da. We have like a certain math to music that we're convinced is how you interpret things by the book, but actually there are other ways of experiencing music, and so it's a really great thing for us to be in touch with every once in a while.
I have I told Lisa I have a band, and when I'm counting into a song, I'll go, okay, let's start from like the chorus. 5, 6, 7, 8. And they all look at me like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I hear what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited for this upcoming show. It looks incredible, and I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see your cross-country collaboration come together.
Right.
Yay!
The
Yay!
webs are for the join.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Excited to
much.
see both of you soon
Yeah.
Yeah.
In real
It's
life.
so fun.
in real life.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you.